Hello, this is Scott Norman from Pittsburgh State University Automotive Technology Program, and we have another interview today in the gorillas in the midst of the automotive industry. We have Adam Martin, a 2012 graduate from PSU. Hello, Adam. How are you doing today?
Hello, Scott. Doing good today. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you for agreeing to be interviewed by me. So let's start off by talking about where you're from. What high school did you go to? Did you have any automotive training before you came to PSU?
So I grew up in Lenexa, Kansas, a little bit outside of Kansas City, about an hour and a half north of Pittsburgh. Um, I went to high school at St. Thomas Aquinas in Overland Park. They didn't have any sort of automotive program there. So before PSU, didn't really have any formal schooling at all on automotive. Was just kind of always a car guy from very young. I was the type that, I had my subscription to Car and Driver, read it cover to cover every month. Really enjoyed learning about cars. I didn't really do much work at all on them. I bought my own car when I was 15, so I kind of had some experience spilling oil all over the driveway, doing oil changes and fumbling my way through a brake job or two before I got to Pitt State. But that was about it before I got to school there.
Okay, well, that's about half our students. About half our students have no real formal experience with automotive technology. The other half maybe grew up in their garage with their dads or on the farm working on equipment. So then your experience is pretty normal. So talk to me a little bit about your experience at PSU with your undergraduate degree. Talk to me about maybe the area of study that you chose and maybe what experience you got while you were at PSU with maybe some type of summer internships or something.
Yeah, so I chose the automotive technology with service and marketing management as my emphasis. So the classes I would go through kind of all of the different skill areas. So steering and suspension, engines, brakes, manual transmissions, auto transmissions, electrical, got a good foundation there in all the automotive areas that you would, have for ASE tests and that kind of thing. Also did kind of all of the prerequisites. So, the classes like business management style classes that you would take, on the main campus of PSU. As I was going through the undergrad program there, so you actually decided to start the automotive mentor program. I can't remember if that was when I was a sophomore or a junior, but you were nice enough to include me in that program. And so through that, kind of realized that I have a passion for not just automotive, but for teaching people. So got to work with a lot of the other students in the program. Maybe they were younger than me, maybe they were just struggling in one of the classes that I was in, but got to kind of walk them through an assignment they were having a tough time with or studying for an exam, something like that. Learned that I really enjoyed that. So actually decided to continue on after my undergraduate and decided to go into a master's program. So I stayed there at PSU and actually became a grad assistant. And I got my degree in career and technical education. So it was a master's of science, I believe, in career and technical education while I was a grad assistant in the automotive program. So that was actually really cool because I was going through the classes where they kind of teach you how to teach you how to develop courses. And I got to work with you and the other professors there and actually got to put that into practice right there at the school.
Great. And so being a GA is really nice because who pays for your master's program then?
Yeah, so you get the tuition is covered, so that's nice. Even got to, working in the lab. You're putting in part-time hours and you get a little bit of spending cash from that even. So that was a great opportunity for sure.
Yeah, PSU will actually pay 20 hours a week to work as a GA, we call that, and then also they pay for your tuition. So it's a pretty good deal, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It was a unique opportunity. So I'll say I've heard advice go in a lot of different ways. A lot of times people will tell you to get some industry experience before you go back for a master's degree, and I can see some value to that. But I mean, I was very happy with I think having the relationship from my undergraduate degree was one of the ways that I got that graduate assistant position. And I can say that my job prospects coming out with that graduate degree were far better than I had when I was graduating with my undergraduate.
Okay, interesting. Why don't you talk a little bit about maybe some of the opportunities you had during the summertime while a student?
Sure. When I was a freshman in my undergrad program, I think it was actually during the second semester of that year that I took a job on weekends back in the Kansas City area just as a lube tech. And I continued that on through that summer after my freshman year. When I was a sophomore, got a job at an independent shop, just kind of doing simple stuff to start, but kind of working up to more and more complex repairs in that position. Continued that into my summer after my sophomore year. And then I actually, that was kind of nice because even though that job was in the Kansas City area, I was able to request a transfer to another branch of that shop in Joplin.
Oh.
So I was, during the school year, I would go to school full time, and then I'd work there, somewhere between 25 and 35 hours a week. So I was kind of able to have a good amount of money while I was working through school there. And then that's kind of when my more official internship started after junior year. So I think I had one working in Yellowstone National Park, which was just a blast. So
Boy, that sounds amazing. So what
it,
type of stuff did you work on out there?
it was, so they have several service stations throughout the shop. So it's like a gas station, convenience store, and then it's got a couple little bays where you can do some repairs. And it was an interesting perspective in that nobody is planning to have service done in Yellowstone.
I
So
bet.
you kind of get to be a little bit creative in ways that you can get them back on the road. And there were a few repairs where you kind of had to tell them, like, I think this will last you a little while, but you need to get to an actual repair shop when you get back to civilization.
Wow, boy, that
But
sounds
other
pretty
than that,
amazing.
also got to they had a tow truck service, so kind of split time between technician duties and running tow trucks through the park. So got to learn how to drive big F-650 wreckers and pull RVs over the mountain and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun.
Boy, did you have to pull any of the big RVs out of a ravine or anything?
We did some recovery work.
Uh-huh.
Being that it was my first summer there, it was normally if I saw something like an RV down the mountain, I was calling the manager and saying, "Hey, you might want to come out here and assist with this." But yeah, I mean, we had tour buses that we pulled out of ditches, and
Oh, wow.
RVs, and
How
cars that
about
were flipped over, all sorts of stuff.
how about Buffalo versus car? Did you see any of
There,
that stuff?
there was some of that too. I don't think I was personally involved in any of those
Okay.
recoveries, but yeah, there was a few where neither one of them, the buffalo or the car, came out good, but the buffalo was still alive and
Yeah.
the car was definitely not.
Interesting. Wow. So what did you do after that?
So after that, the next summer, I had an internship with Toyota Motor Sales, which at the time was out of Torrance, California.
Oh, okay.
And so that was, I was working with the department that was trying to get reimbursements from Toyota of Japan for the buybacks they had executed during their unintended acceleration,
Oh,
kind of during that time.
on the
So they had
Priuses? Yeah, the Priuses.
exactly.
Yeah.
So whether that was true or not. They had bought cars back for customers that were uncomfortable, and Toyota Motor Sales of the United States was trying to get reimbursements from Toyota Motor of Japan, and so I was working with a team to get those reimbursements. So it was an interesting job. Kind of got to go across the country, see a different part of the country. I honestly, it wasn't a job that I was really amped up about because it wasn't really technical, but got to kind of build a network of people that I knew that I could reach out to in the future, and learned a little bit about the company. So I learned that I liked the company. I just didn't like that particular position.
Yeah, well, and it sounds fun to go out to California for the summertime anyway. So
Yeah,
it's better to
absolutely.
go there than maybe down to hot Texas during the summer. So,
Yep.
okay. And
So
then
after
go ahead.
that, let's see, I had another internship, went to Michigan and did an internship with Ford's technical hotline.
Okay.
So answering calls from technicians and assisting them with diagnosis and repair. And that kind of takes me through all the summer internships I had, other than, kind of working in the lab there at PSU, and then as a grad assistant later on.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. So you worked, so I hired you, somebody hired you. So I hired you as an undergraduate and a graduate. That's right.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
boy. So the worst part of the whole entire job was putting up with me, right?
It was me.
He's not gonna comment on that. So which group were you in when you're on the Ford hotline?
So I was in the body electrical group.
Okay.
So it was great. It was kind of trial by fire. I think electrical is one of the difficult areas for a lot of people, especially when you're just getting into the automotive world. So that was actually a very cool internship, because you learned how to diagnose efficiently. You learned how to communicate efficiently, because you're, typing up a response for a technician, and trying to make it so that they don't have to sit there reading for, a long time, or so they don't have to answer a ton of questions before you can get them the information that they need.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a great job. I did that back in 1991, 92, 93 with the GM, so I understand the process on that. So it's a great foundation job that could then launch you up to your next level when you want to stay on the technical side. So okay. So now tell me what you did after 2013, after you got your master's degree. What did you do next?
So I went down to Texas. I actually took a job with Chrysler as a technical trainer. It was a great aspect of PSU that they constantly have tons of companies. About twice a year, they bring in tons of companies that are there for interviews. They're there for information sessions. They're there just to talk to students and collect resumes, give advice, that kind of thing. So through that, I was fortunate enough that building those relationships over the years that I was at PSU, I was able to get several offers. So I had an offer with Ford's Technical Hotline, had an offer with Murphy Hoffman Corporation, had offers with a few other dealer groups, and then got an offer with Chrysler.
Yeah, that sounds like a bad problem to have. Boy,
I
got four offers, and I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, it is a good situation to be in. So and it was interesting, because I was actually very close to taking the Ford Hotline offer when I got the offer from Chrysler. It was kind of my goal at the Ford Hotline to work my way from the hotline into a service engineer position into a technical training role. Because like I said earlier, I learned while I was there that I really like teaching people. So it was really cool when Chrysler called up and said, "Hey, do you want to be a technical trainer?" And I was on board with that all the way. So I moved down to Texas in the Dallas area and worked about 2 years there, training all of the Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram technicians in Texas and Arkansas and Oklahoma and Louisiana. After that, after I kind of got my feet under me there, I think it was a little less than 2 years in that position, I put in for a promotion to Maserati. as a technical trainer as well, and actually got that position. That position was located in Auburn Hills, Michigan, right
Okay.
there where Chrysler is headquartered. So moved up to Auburn Hills. I was in that position for another 2 years, which was a very cool position. You had the opportunity to go to Italy to do some training yourself. Got to do that, I think, 3 or 4 times.
Wow, fun.
It was a lot of fun. Got to work with, Maseratis all the time, and got to kind of meet a different kind of technician. So a lot of the technicians that were at Maserati were very advanced technicians that, the Maserati dealers had taken from some of their more baseline stores. So that was pretty cool. And then about that time, my wife and I, we were starting a family, and we were ready to get back to the Kansas City area. So I saw a position on our internal career board. It was regional after sales manager was the title of it. So my job with that would be communicating with dealerships, making sure they were participating in all the programs that the manufacturer offered, making sure that they were purchasing their supplies and their parts, their accessories and everything like that from the manufacturer, not some of the other sources.
Okay.
So it was really more of a sales-oriented position. So I applied for that, which was kind of a long shot considering it shared very, very little with the technical side where I was coming from. But fortunately had good relationships with some of the managers there at Maserati, and they hired me on for that position. Got to move back to Kansas City.
Wow. How lucky is that?
It was awesome. It was
Yeah.
awesome. So covered a territory. I think when I started, it was a little smaller than this, but when it ended, it was Wisconsin to Las Vegas.
Oh my, that
Yeah.
is huge. So how many dealerships did you have in that area?
So it was funny. I only had 12 dealerships in
Oh,
that area, but you can imagine Maserati dealerships are kind of heavily concentrated on the coasts. And
yeah.
then I was the guy that covered the middle of the country.
Wow. So did you fly everywhere or did you drive a Maserati to all those locations?
It was a little bit of flying and a little bit of
Okay.
driving. They gave us a company car, so I didn't get to drive a Maserati, but they put us in Alfa Romeo Stelvios.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
we were
nice.
in
Yeah.
that position. Yeah, it was nice. It was good. So, so I was in that position for about a year and a half, and definitely learned a lot. It was a side of the industry that, coming from technical, I didn't have any knowledge about. Coming from technical, there's my position, regional after sales manager, makes a lot of the judgment calls on how cars are fixed, how warranty is carried out at the
Oh,
dealerships, that kind of thing. And so it was very cool to gain an understanding of that position. That being said, it wasn't something that I saw myself sticking with long term. So I wanted to stay in the Kansas City area, but was kind of looking to get back into a training role because I knew I loved that job. It would have taken me probably 5 to 10 years with Maserati or Chrysler to get back to a training role. And so I actually saw at that point in time that Subaru of America was looking to open up a new training center.
oh,
Um,
wow. Yeah.
so started interviewing with them out in New Jersey for the Kansas City position. And, through series of interviews and a series of months, was able to get a position there and started that about 6 months ago. So it's kind of still learning my role there.
Wow. So you have a brand new training center in Kansas City that you're working in, man. So you probably have brand new equipment, brand new lifts, brand new floors, brand new
Yep.
everything. Wow, man, that must be nice.
Yeah, it's great. We're still setting it up now. It'll be a process, but yeah, it's cool. Everything's brand new.
Wow. And I'm sure Subaru is giving you a vehicle to drive, right? So what type of
Yeah.
vehicle do they
So
have?
they have a pretty nice program. So as a technical trainer, both Subaru and Chrysler, they want you to have knowledge of the product. So they'll stock the training center with every different variety of vehicle that they make. and they allow you to drive those vehicles. So I think with Subaru currently, they want me to put about 1,000 miles on each of the training center cars.
Oh darn! Somebody has to drive that car.
Yeah, it's a
I
tough
have to
job.
put 1,000 miles on it.
Yep. So I've got a BRZ and a Subaru Forester sitting in my driveway right now, and
Wow. Yep.
yeah, so it's pretty nice. So on top of that, the nice thing that Subaru has done is they'll give you a field vehicle. So that's kind of your more permanent car that you always get back into after you get out of the training center vehicles, which is it's just nice because you want to keep the training center vehicles in real nice kind of showroom condition, so the technicians get a nice picture of everything. And so it's nice to have a car that you can kind of put the car seats in and have everything that you normally drive around with in.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun, man. Man, I'm jealous because I was a Chrysler Training Center instructor for 14 years, and I remember the new products and the new cars and the new tools and the new lifts and everything just being new. And so like I sometimes will miss the product. I miss
Yeah.
being immersed in the product and the technology and having all the new stuff and all that fancy stuff. So Adam, I know that you've been obviously very successful as a student, also after leaving PSU in your career. You've been into some fantastic jobs, very fun, very exciting. Do you have any advice for maybe these high school students that are thinking about automotive technology, that maybe some words of wisdom you could share with them so they could be as successful as what you have?
Sure. I mean, if you're thinking about automotive technology, it's obviously a great career field, and you have a ton of different routes that you can jump off into. So a lot of people that go there to PSU really like the technical aspect, but you guys also have programs for those who like automotive but kind of like the sales aspect. There's a marketing aspect to automotive. There's even engineering. There's developing tools. There's 1,000 different things that you can jump into. So if you want to maintain growth throughout your career, the automotive field is a fantastic field, and it's always going to be changing. From a personal aspect, I would say just kind of as you're going into college, it's a time for growth. So get yourself comfortable with being uncomfortable, because if you're going to grow as a student and in your knowledge, you're going to have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. So it's a little bit uncomfortable to raise your hand in class and say that you don't understand how something works, even though it seems like other people in the class do. But at PSU, instructors are going to be there to help you through that. It's going to be uncomfortable to walk up to a company at a career fair. It's going to be a little bit awkward, but you do it anyway, starting freshman year, so that when you get to be a senior, you're super comfortable with it and you've got relationships built with those companies. Same thing with interviewing. It's something that I know I suffered with, and I know a lot of the other guys I went to school with suffered with, is they were kind of scared to go up in the career fairs and ask for an interview. So a company might not even be hiring freshmen, but just go up and say, hey, I want to practice my interview skills. And I don't know of any of the companies that are there that would, say no to that. And, that way, if you do that from the beginning, you can have 100 interviews under your belt by the time you're interviewing for that full-time position that really counts at the end of your college career. And that this whole thing carries forward into your career as well. So when I got out of PSU had laid a foundation of automotive knowledge for me, but kind of the more important thing was it taught me how to put myself in that uncomfortable situation, how to learn things for myself, because even sticking to kind of the technical side of automotive, the stuff that you're learning freshman year might be obsolete by the time you're actually in the workforce, because they're going to develop a technology that replaces it. So you need to not just know the technology, you need to know how to teach yourself the technology of the future. So like it was a task I had within the last couple of weeks that we're kind of shifting to course development right now. And I had to develop material on power flow through one of our transmissions that I'd never been in before. So had to be able to kind of take that apart over the course of a day, teach it to myself, and then come up with material to teach others with it. So it really doesn't matter which area of automotive you go in, you're going to have to constantly be evolving and teaching yourself new things. So just don't just work on gaining the automotive knowledge, work on teaching yourself new things and building that skill as well.
Wow, that's great advice, Adam. I always say, with the automotive industry, it changes all the time. So it changes, this year. Now next year it's going to change again. It's going to change 2 or 3 times between now and the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Figuring, when I went to school, carburetors and distributors, and we've come a long way, right? So you always have to be able to learn, self-learn, be able to be adaptable for change, because it's always going to change. So very,
Mm-hmm.
very good advice. Adam, thank you very much for your time. This has been a fantastic interview. I love seeing my students going out and being successful and doing great things like you are. I'm a little jealous of all the things that you're doing, but that's good. That's good. And so I'm hoping maybe in another couple of years, you and I could do another interview, and that way you could give us a little bit more information about Subaru. You have a little bit more time under your belt with that company, and maybe do a comparison between maybe Chrysler versus Subaru or something like that.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's been good to talk to you.
Yes. Okay. Have a good evening. And folks, if you're wanting more interviews like this in the series of Gorillas in the Mist of the Automotive Industry, please see my YouTube channel. It's under Professor Pentane. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.